Hi everybody, it's Steph here from VA Professional Magazine, and today we've got the wonderful Caroline Marshall from Upsource with us, who is here to talk to us about her new virtual assistant business and her recent win as UK Best Newcomer VA 2021. So welcome, Caroline. How are
Hi,
you?
thank you. Thanks for asking me here today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. We're really excited to be talking to you. So first of all, congratulations on the win. That's amazing.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I was really, really surprised. Yeah, actually, I was actually feeding my baby when it was announced, and because my husband was picking up our toddler, so when he's hungry, you have to do it. And it was just a bit shocked, in all honesty. I think it sounded like a bit of a gibbering.
I remember I was watching the awards and I remember it cutting to you feeding the baby, and I just thought, that's just the epitome of I guess what we're doing right now, isn't it? Multitasking so much, trying to run a business, run a household. Obviously, currently we're in lockdown as well, which must add an extra level of pressure to stuff. But it looks like you're managing it quite well.
Not bad, not bad. I think it helps having a very supportive husband and supportive family. Yeah, I mean, by no means we can make all these things look easy, but we're all going through the same thing. It's hard. I'm lucky my toddler is at nursery a couple of days a week, and I'm still on maternity leave pretty much, and just easing out of it now, which is nice. And yeah, it's a tough thing we're all going through. But it's very nice to get recognized for that and have like the cherry on top of the cake.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's actually such an interesting point, isn't it? Because you're right, we are all going through it, and definitely, I'm quite sure there's going to be many readers and listeners right now who are, completely relating to that. I mean, obviously, you're quite new in business. So when did you start your business?
I actually, it is a product of what happened with COVID, my business. I was working, I actually a few years ago was working for a virtual assistant business. I was employed.
Okay.
And I worked with them, and then I got made redundant after my first child in 2019. I then went to go and help a friend's family business, and I was working there, employed in the office 4 days a week. And I decided, someone reached out to me end of 2019, an old colleague from years ago, saying she thought I was in the virtual assistant industry and her friend was looking for one. And I was like, oh, I've actually been I've been starting to look on Facebook, starting to look at the communities out there, and started to see how supportive the industry was. And yeah, it just really interested me. So I thought, oh, I'll have a chat with her and see what she wants. So I ended up taking her on about January 2020. It was only a very small contract, and she knew I had an employed job. So it was just, I worked it around that. And then when lockdown hit 1 year ago today, as I was just saying, I needed to be at home with my toddler, and I couldn't work from home. And at that point, furlough had been announced by the government, but a lot of businesses weren't very quick to say whether they'd offer it or not. So it's a very, very weird position to be in, which I'm sure I'm far from not the only one. But I found myself being a stay-at-home mum, and because I needed my husband's salary to work, pay the bills. So I needed something for me. I've worked my whole life, so I thought that was the time I should just go for it. And most of the days I was looking after my toddler, but my husband would give me about an hour or so a day to kind of start putting things together, like financial plans, start thinking about what I would do with this business, how it would work. And I launched June 2020.
Excellent. Oh, what a story. That's amazing. I guess, that's one of the things about coming out of this lockdown. There's a lot of not so great things that have come out of it. But I mean, that's a real story of, like you say, taking an opportunity and just running with it. It's a very brave thing to do as well, though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I was interesting. I saw a post the other day. It was like, do you see yourself as a business owner or an entrepreneur? And I was like, well, I do see myself as a business owner now. I've always looked at it from that perspective. Part of it was I can't lie, was I also found out I was pregnant in the first lockdown. So part of it was like, I'm suddenly not earning money and I need to earn money. I can be a VA, but it was also more long term but I want a business. And so I replied to this post saying, I see myself as a business owner, but I do think I have an entrepreneurial mindset. And I do think if you've got that, me and my husband have always been thinking about what businesses we could run. We've always been employed. He's still employed. But I think all those circumstances led to this is the time to do it. It was either I was going to choose the path of potentially not working or choose the path of business owner. And that was the route I decided to go down.
Amazing. And so you touched on that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been a big factor in what's helped you kind of get this business off the ground so fast and potentially brought you towards, winning this award?
Yeah, I do actually. Definitely getting off the ground. I think I'm less afraid than some people might be, and that's not a bad thing. I probably, sometimes you've just got to be a bit gutsy and go for it. But say, for example, my dad has always run his own business. My granddad ran it before then. We've got a lot of friends who have their own businesses, so sometimes I think you're less afraid when you've seen people do it in your family and friendship circles. But I remember I needed to go back and see what the comments were, because they did some very nice comments about all the finalists for the VAs, but they said that I'd created a business, not a job for myself. So I do think that did play a part in it. And that was one thing actually with my application form. When I handed it in and stuff, I thought, I think the one thing that might let me down is my business plan, because I was having a baby in December. My business plan wasn't strong, let's put it that way. I had ideas and ambitions, let's put it that way, for the business, but I didn't want to pressure myself about when I needed to come back, or I wanted that to go very organically. And I did the same with, set the same expectations for my clients and things. I couldn't stand the thought of thinking I had to be back at a certain point, because I'd put that pressure on myself. So I do think that entrepreneurial side did play a part with the award in my case. I'd like to go back and see the feedback again. It's all been a bit of a blur, but that was definitely mentioned. How they were impressed by the business side of it.
Wonderful. That's really great to hear. And so I guess just kind of drilling down on that a little bit then. So you said obviously your family have run their own businesses, you've got friends that are in business. Where does that entrepreneurial mindset come from? Is it something that it's kind of a personality thing, or is it something that's learned in that you've seen other people doing it? I mean, do you read much about entrepreneurship and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess that's really interesting. I'm not really sure. I think, God, you could go really deep with that question as well, because things like I always did fine in school and things like that, but I was never terribly academic. But I always did stuff like performing, so I've always learned how to juggle and to you get back what you put in with something like performing. I wasn't naturally good at it. I had to work really, really hard to be good at it. And at one point I did have ambitions of trying to make a career out of it. So I guess kind of you learn about failure as well very quickly in performing, because as you can see, I'm not a professional performer, so I definitely learned that. So I think you have, maybe because with the entrepreneurial side there is that putting yourself out there and taking a few risks. I mean, I think setting up a VA service isn't actually as risky as plowing your money into a product or something like that. There's very financially, you don't need to put much into it to start it. But I think it is something drawn from that. Definitely, it's a mixture of it that learning how to put myself out there as a performer. Like, none of this seems as scary as that, because that is probably one of the most scariest things you can do, is stand up and sing in front of people or go to auditions and be turned away all the time. And so you start and I did get parts occasionally. It wasn't always rejection, but I think you get a bit gutsy. It does pull that out of you, kind of thing. And I think I always liked that flexibility. When I was trying to perform, I was doing office jobs at the same time, so temping and stuff. And I think, I mean, especially now I've got kids, and flexible working has obviously becoming much more of a thing now. But I do really appreciate I can build this business around what works for me and my family right now and what will work for us in 5 years' time. And I think, like we were chatting about a minute ago, actually, I don't think I'd be well suited to being tied to a job and a structure now. And if you're not, it's just my personality. And so I think mixed with all those things, you just want to find out what you could do yourself.
Absolutely. Goodness me, it does sound like you've just fallen into the perfect sort of place for you right now, taking in actually all those experiences from the performing and, I guess that mindset kind of thing. And then, like you say, to be able to build a business that actually works for you and your family, but I guess also has the potential to grow, right? There's no reason why it couldn't be bigger if you didn't want it, if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, and that's definitely, we've been at home been talking about that a lot, because since winning the award and starting to think about coming out of maternity leave, what could this business look like? And I definitely do want it to grow. That is an ambition of mine, and I need to do more of the financial plans. We're taking this year steady, just to see some things that happen with my baby and his health, just some things there. But we're definitely growing. We're taking on new clients, taking on VAs, and it's exciting to see how that can happen. I just want it to be steady as well, to make sure we have all the because it's, as VAs, we know it's all about right processes, everything set up in place. I want to make sure everything's right and ready for us to grow. So it is exciting to see where I could take it and like how far we want to take it, really.
Absolutely. So, are you willing to share any of those ideas? Like, what does business look like for you in 5 years' time?
So that is a question. I have to confess, I know that is a big question. If you talk to like a coach, and it's like you need your 3 year and your 5 year. I'm going to be really honest. I started it with my COVID plan and my maternity get out plan, and now I've done my 1 year plan, which is just to grow basically. And beyond that, I haven't done yet. But I've done enough, I think, to get excited about and to get pulled in, but enough to also just see see how things go with my little boy, and then he'll be 1 at the end of the year. And having done it before, it'll be great from then to be like, right now I can get stuck in and really plan where this is going to go over the next 5 years. And I will have, by the end of the year, I'll have my 5 year plan.
Brilliant. Well, look, there's no judgment here. I think actually a lot of people listening will be quite sort of find that quite refreshing to hear somebody say that, because like you said, so often especially from a coaching or like a business mentor kind of point, people are, where are you going 3 years, 5 years, 10 years time, which is important and good for some people in business. But a lot of the virtual assistants listening to this right now are potentially very new in business, or potentially don't have plans to build great big enormous businesses, and they don't necessarily need a 5 year plan. So I think it's probably nice to hear you being so refreshingly honest about it.
Yeah, I guess it's being honest, and also just being true about the situation as well. We are in a pandemic, and like I said, a lot of us are trying to juggle families, homeschooling, all of that. And I think as long as you're working hard and have an idea of where you want to go. I obviously have ideas, it's just nothing concrete. I think we could be far too hard on ourselves, then we should look back on really, we've done some great stuff the past year, and just to keep going on that, and we'll get through this pandemic eventually.
A great way of looking at it, for sure, definitely. So I've got a couple of questions here. I've had a few questions kind of sent in from the members of the VA Professional Network as well. So there was one question that we had here about business knowledge, which I guess we've kind of touched on a little bit. So the question was, did you have any sort of business knowledge before you came into this? And then how important do you think having those kind of skills are to starting a business?
Oh, that's a really good question. So Yeah, so I think there's kind of two areas to it. Like I said, so I did freelance. I was a performer, or tried to be one, and that kind of taught me a lot on the basics of like keeping your finances in order. I'm very lucky. My dad is my accountant, so I didn't have to do too much. I never had to. But I liked things to be in order. So it's like that is like the bare basics if you're becoming a freelancer, which most people are when they're starting a business. In a service business, you're a sole trader, freelancer, and so that gave me some basics. But yeah, so a couple of years ago, when I started, about 2016, I started working for an employed VA agency. That was a startup. That it was, you know, I'm going to say I did help grow significant areas of that business and learned a lot there. And not also from there, but also the clients. A lot of the clients were in startups themselves, and it's amazing what you can pick up from clients that you can apply to your own business or learn from them. So I don't undervalue that when you're working for clients and you maybe haven't like got to the stage of thinking about yourself as a business or running yourself as a business. Like, learn from your clients and what they do as well and what they shouldn't do on that side. So I did really learn a lot from that, I have to say, about processes, like the basics of scaling. There's a lot I still got to learn, and there was probably more a lot of what not to do was what I learned. Hence why I say I do want to grow, but I don't want to do it too fast. I don't want to set ambitions without the proper processes in place and support systems in place, tech in place, all of that, and the right people as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I've learned a lot from the past few years, because before that I used to work in hospital and public health, and I was very much as a personal assistant, executive assistant, so I was very much less on the business side of things there. So I have to say I've taken a lot of learnings from the past 4 or 5 years that have helped me get started.
That's wonderful, and I can totally relate to that. I think I was the same. I started my VA business about 10 years ago now, and certainly for the first couple of years, I just considered myself as a freelance PA, I suppose. And it was only when you start meeting those clients and seeing how excited they get about being in business, and like you say, seeing what goes right and what goes wrong. And I think we shouldn't undervalue how important that kind of learning is. It's the kind of learning that literally money can't buy, I think, to be on the inside of a business,
Oh,
uh,
definitely,
and
definitely.
see how it works. I think it's quite a privileged position for virtual
Oh,
assistants.
yeah. Very few roles do you get exposed to businesses that much. Like, you could come in as someone's accountant and you don't see the inner workings of processes and people management and things like that. Like I said, it is a privilege. It's a privilege we get trusted with that, with these businesses. And yeah, it's great because you tend to have a very varied client base and see how people do things differently and work really well, but just different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, very interesting indeed. Okay then. So another question here we had about uh, training. So I think we've kind of already sort of touched on that. Did you do any sort of specific training before starting your business, or even after, or is there training that you would like to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's always training. I do believe in self-development. There's always things you can learn. So before I started, actually, like I mentioned, I was getting involved on these Facebook communities and looking at things. I did find Amanda Johnson and her business VACT, and I'd had a discovery call with her. I decided, for me personally, the right route to go down was, she has a membership, so I got involved with there, and there's a lot of like online learnings there. So I did a lot of those, because while I had worked for a virtual assistant business before, it was really good for me to see what they did and what is actually industry best practice amongst the VA community. So I really wanted to learn that. I wanted to do what was best practice, what the Society of Virtual Assistants lay out as, paying your associates, getting paid by your clients, everything about running a virtual assistance business that is seen as best practice. You make sure you're registered with the ICO, all of those sorts of things that you've got to make sure you do as well. And so I'm always doing that. That's still online continuous development that I do. Like everyone as well, I feel like everyone went through a period of wanting to learn more in self-development in the first lockdown, so I probably went a bit overboard with that. And there were some other personal assistant communities. I wanted to learn a lot about social media because that was an area I've not actually ever done in the past. So and I knew I needed to do it for my business. So I did a lot of training on just Instagram, LinkedIn, learning those things. I've still got learning to do on those side of things, on the content side, but I'm learning as I go. I think that's, with social media, it's one of the best things to do. You're going to have to put some rubbish out there in order to know what works. And so definitely with that. And yeah, I think just continuous development is definitely something that's needed and what I'll be doing. And it's just where I'll need to do it next, whether it's on managing people, managing clients better. It's kind of seeing where my business grows and what I think I'll need in order to run it in the best way possible. Mm-hmm. But I definitely recommend anyone starting out as a VA, or even been one for a while now, do like look at what your clients want, look at what they need, look what you want your business to be, and then find training or self-development in relation to that. It's very easy to waste your time on things you think you need, and then it turns out I really don't need to train myself on that. I think it can be overwhelming. For example, say project management systems, there's so many out there, and I can imagine a new VA going, oh my gosh, I need to learn this, I need to look at this one. Just maybe learn one, find one, and then wait and see what your clients use, because they all tend to be about the same. They're just laid out different, have slightly different functions, and you can learn that on the go once you've got the hang of them.
What excellent advice. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. That I think is going to be really useful for some people. Like you say, though, it can be overwhelming, definitely, particularly if you're starting out.
I still do. I need to look at a new system for my business now, and it's kind of like I know which ones I want to look at, but it's that I don't want to spend too much time on them all. It's an overwhelming thought bringing in new software and things, so you don't want to waste time looking in the wrong places.
And it can be a complete drain on your time as well. You can easily go down a rabbit hole and not surface for 3 days.
Absolutely. That and social media.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay then, so tell us a little bit about your business. I mean, obviously, I know, started during a pandemic, and then obviously being on maternity leave as well. So you're quite new into it. But have you developed sort of an ethos for your business? Have you got certain clients that you look to work with, or a certain niche, for example?
Yeah, so I definitely it's more kind of the characters that come to me and work with me. It's a lot of creative types and freelancers that I work with. Clearly not a surprise with the background that I have, but I don't necessarily think, while it's creative, I do work with a lot of creative businesses and freelancers. I've worked with a plumber in the past, and I saw him as quite a creative individual. It really doesn't mean just because you're in one certain industry that's your personality type. So I really do go for the personalities. I do support as well a lot of service-based businesses, starting to get a few more product-based businesses, which is good for me because I've always worked in the service industry. So I quite like, that's a new way for me to learn, is to look at these clients with product businesses and see what they're doing. I quite enjoy that. Definitely also women in business, mums in business. I can, the amount we juggle, I'm always just in awe of. So I hope, I like to think they can relate to me, and that's why they come to me as well. So yeah, they're the sort of clients I tend to go and come to me as well, and enjoy our help here.
Excellent. And so on that note, how do they find you, or how do you find them?
So I tell you what, when I first started out, I just told everyone I was starting out as a virtual assistant. And that takes a lot of balls in itself to do that, because I think that's something quite scary, especially when it went online as well. That was the next level. It was one thing when I was just emailing people, but when you go online, it's like, okay, it's actually happening now. I've kind of this is what's going on. And so actually clients I got were from past roles I've worked in originally. I got a good few, and the client I told you about, which I started in January 2020 with, I told her about, we had a phone call because when the pandemic hit, didn't know if clients would still need you. It was just sad state of affairs. A lot of VAs did lose their client bases because of the industries they were in and things like, or people panicking and not wanting to spend money. So I had a check-in with my client, and she was like, no, I'm doing really well, like 100% want to stay with you. And I was like, well, on that note, I've got more time. Please send me more clients. And I asked for referrals because I was actually talking to my dad about this yesterday. But, they don't always know to recommend you, or that you've got the time or the team to take on more clients. So sometimes you just need to let them know, because then they suddenly think of you when they're talking to the right person. So that's how I got my main base of clients last year, was through past people I've worked with, and then them referring me, which is really nice. It's the highest compliment when they have so much confidence in you that they'll refer you to their friends or colleagues. So that's how I've got them all. And now I'm starting to get some through social media, and I have to say the award obviously helps with that as well. It really does start bringing more people to your profile. So it's really good starting to see some of the content we've been putting out there is starting to get people to come to us as well. And finally, so that's probably 3 ways. And also networking. It's a bit harder to do. Well, it's just different. I wouldn't say harder. It's very different to in person. I haven't actually done any in-person networking from when I started. But I'm looking forward to doing that. But I'm involved in some women in business communities and things like that. And it just gets your name out there. And sometimes you never know, a year down the road, someone comes to you because so-and-so has told them about you. I think that's one thing I've learned, is just never underestimate who you tell about your business, because the next thing you know, they're like, oh, I've told my friend about you, and it turns out they're a really great client for your business.
Absolutely. And as you say, I think word of mouth and referrals is one of the best ways, particularly I think when you were doing the kind of job that we do, where it's such a personal relationship with the client very often, and they need somebody they can trust. And so they'd always rather go through a referral than just find you online.
Absolutely. I did the same with things like my website and things. They were all friend, and my logo, friends of friends, because it's your business is your little business baby. You want to do it with people you trust. So that's the best way.
100%. Yeah. So, oh my goodness, I've got so many questions from what you just said there. So, looking then to the so going out and telling people, and you said obviously, you just went out and told the world this is what you were doing. Was that just friends, or was it literally people you meet in the supermarket, anywhere you went, just like, guess what, I'm starting a business? And was it
oh no, I'm not quite that bad. Plus, no one was I wasn't going out anywhere, so I probably was going on walks to the park with my toddler. I tell him about it. He wasn't very interested. So I basically found old email addresses of people I'd worked in the past, or LinkedIn messages, people I worked in the past, to tell them, this is what I'm doing now. It sounds quite cringe and quite shameless, but you got to do what you got to do to survive in a pandemic. And my husband did the same with his friends. They told like family, and then it was really nice. So I had like people put it on their social media as well, so which was quite nice, because then they saw it, and I had people I'd say done shows with in the past going, oh, I might like to come and be a VA for you once I'm off maternity leave, and things like that. So it is strange places you find people wanting to work with you. So I literally just made sure everyone knew I was doing it. It's there's no point having a business and keeping it a secret, because you're not going to get clients that way. And it does take, just remembering back to it, it was a bit like nerve-wracking to be like, I'm actually going to do it, especially I think I still get a bit intimidated by the LinkedIn world, I have to say, and that's something I've got to overcome. But yeah, it's a strange thing to put it, that expose yourself that much. But you know, I've learned in the past, I've done some great things through my performing, and that's through just putting myself out there. So it's got to be the same in the business world, right?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. But I guess it's easier said than done, isn't it? So
Yeah.
for the VAs listening to this right now or reading this and thinking, well, that's great because, you know, she's obviously confident, she's got the performing background. It's nerve-wracking to put yourself out there, but it doesn't look like it was that much of a great effort for her. Have you got any words of encouragement?
I think the key is it doesn't look like it. We all get doubts. We all overthink. And you know, I do describe myself as a hidden introverted extrovert. So the key is to looking like you know what you're doing. I found in life, but yeah, I don't underestimate that. It's tough putting yourself out there, especially if you're coming back from things confidence wise. If you come from a similar position to me, I was made redundant the year before I started this business, and that really hit my confidence hard. I'd made a lot of sacrifices personally for that, and I think it's knowing, like, sometimes you have got to feel at rock bottom, and then to put yourself out there, to think it can't really get any any worse than that. And I think it's remembering, what's the worst that could happen if you, in a couple of years your business doesn't work out, at least you tried. I think that's a really good way of probably putting it. It's like, if you really want to give it a go, you need to put yourself out there a little bit. I mean, you know, you might not feel comfortable doing videos and things like that, but like baby steps, you know, maybe just saying it to your friends first, getting your friends to give you a bit of confidence, find a community that you really trust, of women who are in business or women who are VAs as well, and get them to give you a bit of confidence. It's that will really boost you, I think, and it has for me when I've put things out there to just the communities at first, to feel confident to put it out there to the wider world. And also, the wider world aren't watching you as much as you think.
That is very good advice indeed. And you're right, they're not. They're all too busy thinking about what they're doing.
They're trying to get their own sales, their own clients. So I think it's just remembering that it's like no one's watching you as much as you think. If you put a typo in, a comma in the wrong place, don't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, great. And so you touched on about opportunities actually though. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the award. And I guess what encouraged you firstly to apply for it? And then secondly, you know, have you had any opportunities that have arisen from winning it?
Yeah. Okay, it's gonna sound really cheesy. I actually went to the last year, the virtual assistant conference last year. It was in person. It was probably the last in-person event I went to. I actually went because there was some really good talks there that were really relevant to my job that I was in at the time, to do with GDPR, to do with marketing. I was starting to help them. There was some really relevant talks there, and I thought I'd go. And then I ended up seeing the VA Awards, and it had been on the back of my mind while like nothing had come from it. I had, like I said, I had this thought that I would be a business owner at some point, in some form. I didn't know how that would take. I to be honest, I didn't think I'd ever go like full time as I did. I thought maybe it would be a part-time side thing that would organically grow, and I'd spend more and more of my time on it potentially. But I did see the VA Awards, and I mean, there's nothing like a shiny trophy to inspire you. Well, for me anyway. And it just sounds really cheesy. I just thought, okay, well, if I'm going to I do set myself goals. Why I say I don't have 5-year plans. I do set myself goals. I like to vision how things could be, what I'd like in my life. And it you know, sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. And this is one that weirdly panned out for me. So it was there as a vision. And then I did end up setting up my business, and it was like, right, okay, well, I can apply for this award. And I'd done everything that the Society of Virtual Assistants say you need to do in order, to be accredited with them, which really gave me a boost on there. And so it was very easy to apply for it. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people, just to not say easy in that sense, but a lot of people worry about applying for awards and things. But from my perspective, no one sees that I've applied for an award. It's the same. You don't need to tell. That's one thing you don't need to tell people about. You don't need to tell people you're going to go for an award. You can just do it. And that's how I went about it. And sorry, I've completely lost the point of this question.
No, I'm really enjoying this. The follow on from that is what opportunities have come from winning.
Yeah, oh gosh. Well, it's still only been a few weeks, but I've had more people check in to see if I'm taking on more clients. And that's really nice. It definitely brings those opportunities. I've had more VAs come to me about working with me, which is great because to have a great service, you need to have great VAs on board. That's first and foremost, right? So that as well, if people are interested in working with me, that's really, really nice to hear. And people are interested in the award, so it's really nice to talk about. It's just another conversation piece to add to it. And it'll be nice to see this year what it brings for me. And it's definitely already started that, and opening up of opportunities like this. I've been asked to speak later in the year about the award to encourage people to apply for next year's. I think it's the Southwest VA Collective, which is really nice because I'm from Cornwall. So it'll be, it's actually like talking to people from my area of home. So things like that are just really, really good experiences, which I'm excited to do, and just excited to be more involved in the community as well, which the award brings.
Excellent. And I guess, yeah, absolutely. The VA community, I think, or the industry as a whole, is quite unique, I think, in the way that we work.
Yeah, and that's what made me interested in actually going back to it. When I was made redundant, it was actually suggested, oh, like maybe just start on your own, and I was like, no way, I'm not doing it. and then I think sometimes when you really enjoy something, and then I found out how nice the community was and how supportive it is, and how much support and information and training is out there. I thought, it just started to be like, okay, maybe I was like too quick to write off being in the virtual assistant again.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so the communities, sort of the networks that you're involved in, sort of in the VA community, because I know there are some virtual assistants out there that might be part, obviously we're talking specifically about VA Pro at the moment, but I know there's a lot of VAs that maybe join a community but then don't feel so confident to engage, perhaps.
Yes, yeah. That is a thing. And I definitely had that as well. Like I said, sometimes you can appear confident, but I think social media has been hard for me in the past, just to like, oh, if I say this, I'm going to seem stupid, or things like that, which is absolutely not the case. But I think I just decided to go for it because it felt like a very safe space. And I think in order to get involved, it's not just asking questions, things yourself, but replying to people, because you might be like, oh, I know an answer to this. I can help with this, or I can contribute in some way to this, even if you think it might not be helpful. It's get started on there, because that will also help with your external social media profile. I found it's given me more confidence to then chat to other businesses, to put other sorts of content out there by getting involved more in the virtual assistant community. And they're very friendly spaces. They all tend to be moderated well as well, so it's not going to be as scary as you think.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's definitely not. Okay then. So let's see, what other questions have we got on this list? So there was one question here. What do you think are the most important qualities a virtual assistant should have?
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, let me have a think on that one. Yeah, I have a couple. I think these are quite personal, and we're talking about qualities here, so this isn't based on skill set or knowledge or anything like that. I think definitely love helping people. We're a service industry. I think having a love for it is really something you need. Otherwise, you're going to be done with it, in a year or so's time. If you don't really enjoy that, then it's not the industry for you. I genuinely believe that, and because your clients will tell you don't love it, and it just won't work out. I think honesty is a really good one. We talked before that trust is such a big thing for clients. And so if you're an honest person, you're human, you're going to make mistakes, things like that. You've just got to be honest about it. I've definitely made mistakes in my time. Own up to them, and then you can move forward. And otherwise, it can get hidden and the relationship cracks and things. So I think that's a really valuable quality. Curiosity. Things are always changing, I've discovered. There's always new systems. There's always new tech. We've got to stay curious to stay on top of all of these things. In 10 years' time, I can imagine the VA role looking very different again to it is now. And I think you've got to be really open to that change. So that's another quality, and curious about what else you could do, how else you could help your clients. I think that will help you. And I think grit is a really good one as well. Finally, there's quite a few there. You know, you've got to keep going when things are going not well, or not to plan, or all your clients are not having the best time in their industry, things like that. You've just sometimes got to have that determination to keep going, and start again sometimes. And I think that's a really, really good quality to have in a VA.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you on all of those. Brilliant. Okay. And so I guess we're sort of coming to the end of this now. But so one of the other questions then, let's have a look. Or two more I think we wanted to ask. So I've already asked you about sort of the plan for now and in the future. What do you enjoy? Actually, I might have three more questions.
Yes, I'm enjoying this.
Is there something that you particularly enjoy the most about your work or about being a virtual assistant?
Oh, what do I enjoy the most? I think it's the people. Which, yeah, it sounds really obvious, but it's such, when you run a service, it's all about people at the end of the day. You've got to have the right tech, you've got to have the right processes, but it's all about the people, which sounds odd because I haven't seen anyone in my business. Yeah, but I really do enjoy the clients. I really do enjoy getting to know other people in business, which that's been amazing the past year, because I didn't get that before. I was even when I worked for a startup and was very involved, there was so much work to do constantly. It was head down, getting on with it. And yeah, I think I'll very much enjoy going out into the world and actually seeing people once we can, because I really do enjoy that. And working with other VAs, there's so much you can learn about working with people, because not everyone you take on, I mean, far from that, they don't work like you, and they work like they work. And it's really nice to learn how you can learn from that, or how they can learn from you. And it's kind of an exchange of skill set, really, on how you do things. And that's definitely one of my favorite things, definitely.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can totally see that as well. Okay, and then so if you had to move your office to a desert island,
Oh my gosh.
have you got a favorite application, gadget, tool that you just could not live without in your office?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question. So one tool I have to take. Oh my gosh. So I'll have to say at the minute, although this might change depending on if I change systems, but at the moment I use Asana, and I'm just lost without a to-do list. I'm sorry. I don't believe you can keep things in your head, especially when you have two kids and a business. Everything has to go in there. Even if it's ideas, I just dump them in there as well, and then I'll sort them at a later date. But I'm very strict on a to-do list and timelines and recurring tasks. I just would be lost without that. It's
Excellent. Yeah, fellow Asana lover here as well.
Oh, yay! Oh, we could talk for hours about
it. It runs all of my businesses. I couldn't function without it.
We'll talk about that. We need another one on
Yeah,
Asana.
yeah, exactly. We might need a whole hour to discuss that. Okay then, and final question. So, if you could offer one single piece of advice to the virtual assistants listening to this right now, for business or potentially even for life, what would it be?
One piece of advice. That's a really tough one. I think this is what I do. I usually do one, and then it turns into like 5 pieces that end up from
Five, that's fine. We're not going to discriminate. I know that the people listening are going to want to hear what you've got to say.
I think continue learning is probably one for now. I think it's very, I think sometimes I can imagine a lot of people think, and I've definitely been down this path in the past, and actually it has been feedback from someone when I've done like a 360, is feeling like when you run a business or are high up in a business, you need to have all the answers. And I think it's knowing you don't, and you never will. And I think that makes it's a much nicer quality, I think I've become a better person realizing that I don't have the answers for everything, and I'm continually learning and being open with that. And you can really, and learn, like learning from others. It's not just learning your self-development, it's learning from other people. Because if you run your business the same way you did, if Upsource was the same in 20 years time, and I'm not learning from other people, then I don't think it's developed.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have gone very far. I won't have a very big business in 20 years time. I might have a fine business, but it won't be the best it could be.
Wonderful. Oh, fabulous insights there, definitely. Well, Caroline, thank you. It's been so wonderful to speak to you today. If there are people listening that would like to get in touch with you, potential clients, potential associates, how and where do they find you?
Oh, great. So www.weareupsource.co.uk. Or email me personally, Caroline at weareupsource.co.uk, or just reach out to me on LinkedIn and social media, and we'll respond as well.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for your time today. I know people are going to be excited to listen to this, and I'm sure they will have taken some great insights from it. We really appreciate you taking the time out today to speak to us.
Well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and we'll talk about Asana another time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll stop the recording and then we'll do that.
Yeah.